Hey, what's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to talk about music videos. So, I'm going to give you guys 5 tips. I'm just going to give you a bonus tip. The bonus tip is more like what's the number one thing I see wrong with most amateur music videos. So, we're going to get right into that. All right. Now, to start, my favorite music video director of all time is Hype Williams. And so, that said, I've always kind of watched his work and then thought, well, I'm going to mimic some of his ideas because truthfully, this is someone that inspires me to make music videos. If I'm going to make a music video, I'm going to try to do it his style. So, one thing that he's always done, which is my number one tip right here, is he shoots a lot of wide angle shots. I think wide angle shots are really great with music videos because it shows the artist and it also shows the atmosphere. It shows what's going on around the artist. And so what I like to do is kind of center the artist. I try to get as close as I can to him and do a lot of movement around him while also showcasing a lot of the background and working on my framing in that way. Another thing you can do is kind of walk down like alleys or any sort of leading lines, hallways, anything like that. That's a really good look. Or you could just have your artist stand centered in a hallway with the leading lines toward the back in a wide angle, atmosphere. It's a really nice format. Try any of those ideas when using a wide angle lens. Best approach when making music videos. All right, and so speaking of atmosphere, that brings me to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is locations. A lot of people, I don't think, really do a lot of work on their locations, and that's probably a big mistake. And the location itself can do half the work for you on a music video. Whatever the video concept is, just try to find locations based around that. Sometimes you can even use the same location in different parts of it, and so you don't have to move your whole set. You could just shoot a portion and then just go around the corner and it looks completely different. What you do want to do is have at least 3 locations in your music video. That way you can chop up all 3 different locations and it gives you a feeling that there's a much more bigger, broader music video going on, even though you're just shooting everything just around the corner from one another. So you shot the music video several times, a bunch of different locations. Now you gotta chop it all up. That's tip number 3. What I'm basically getting at is that you wanna cut up the video in the editing process, not just to the straight beat. You wanna change it up, change up the momentum every so often. Don't make it so repetitive because then it'll get repetitive to the viewer and the viewer will lose interest in the video. On top of that, this is where you're gonna splice in a bunch of little B-rolls, like some slow motion shots. You can splice in like tighter shots that have some depth of field to them, not so much the wide angle shots, but now that's when you switched over to maybe a 50 millimeter or 35 millimeter, something like that, where you got a closer up shot of the talent and splice that throughout the entire video, chopping it up basically and making it much more interesting, because a music video can get very boring very quickly, or it can get too repetitive and viewers will lose interest and bounce out. So you definitely want to constantly change it up as much as you can throughout the video and change it up along with the song. So if there's a different part, there's a downbeat, there's a build up, edit it according to that song, and the viewer will be much more interested in sticking around to see the rest of the video. Now, when I talked about chopping it up, I wasn't talking about effects, and that's tip number 4. You're gonna want to layer some sort of effects on there. That's glitch effects. That's putting some sort of flares in there, some sort of transitions, anything that you can do, special effects. There's a lot of tips and tricks throughout YouTube that you can look up and find one that fits your video and just lay those on top of your video. Once you've already edited the video the way you want it, and once you've already put all the pieces in place, the effects would be the last thing I would slice in there. But that's another thing that kind of helps keep things interesting. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it. There's no one particular effect. There are a lot of effects that look real cheesy. Try to avoid those. It will actually make your video look lower quality. So you want to kind of keep it up to a certain level of quality and try to come up with ideas and stuff that no one else is doing, or that are all, getting old or, look kind of ridiculous or anything like that. So you got to kind of pick out the right effects for your video, but definitely add some effects. It will make your video overall much more appealing for the viewer to watch. All right, and tip number 5 is kind of a broad tip, but it's just keep it interesting. Yeah, you've gotten the video all shot and then you chopped it all up and and you added all your effects and you have all these great locations. That's all good, but you should probably add in more content in there. If you got some nice cars and you want to show off some cars, use that. Not just the talent should be the whole video. Show other things. Show the atmosphere. Show some B-roll of people around it. If it's a party atmosphere, show, you know, women, or show money, props, anything that you have. Bring that into it. If you don't have any of that type of stuff, maybe you're a solo artist and you don't have anything else, then bring other stuff. Bring smoke, bring mist, bring, you know, anything you can to make that whole video kind of seem much more interesting. You can also tell a story, right? So it could go from like day to night. It doesn't have to be this deep story, just a simple arc of some sort. You know, change it up halfway through the song so that the viewer's just about to lose interest in watching the whole video, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you know, there's some new content all of a sudden popped into the video that you didn't see coming. So think along those lines. What can you add to keep the video much more interesting? That way the viewer doesn't lose interest throughout watching the video. All right, and the very last tip is a bonus tip. It is that you have to have good lighting. I think so many music videos just have the worst lighting ever. It's either they film in the middle of the day where there's no real cinematic good lighting, it's just everything's blown out, or they film inside their house and they're just using regular lights inside their house and they just look faded and nothing looks great. You want to light up your artists so that they pop off the screen, and the background, you can add some accents to the background or just not have anything in the background, but you got to light up your artists at the very least. I did a couple music videos. I light up the artist, threw in some blue lights in the background just to add some contrast. I've done several times where I shoot an artist where I light up the background only. The artists are, you know, silhouetted. That can also look very cool. You got to figure out some sort of clever approach with your lighting. If you're not doing that, that's like the bare minimum. If you're not doing that, you're really not doing much of anything. So, all right, those are all my tips. I hope they were helpful for some of you guys. I do like to shoot music videos. Probably gonna be doing some here in the future. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I know a lot of people subscribe because of it, and I wanted to throw out some of these suggestions. I hope it was helpful for some of you guys. All right, that's it for me. See you. For anybody that actually sticks around long enough to see this, I'm waiting for somebody to actually say, hey, I actually saw that sponsor deal in the comments. Today's video is sponsored by Champion. I don't actually know what this is. As you can see, you can't even read this. It's like a knockoff of Champion. Yeah, so they make clothing and you can buy it on wish.com. I've been finding a lot of these on wish.com. I've never actually bought anything from wish.com. And because they sell this bootleg clothing, that's a good reason why I would not buy anything from wish.com. Thank you, Champion, for sponsoring this video, which they did not sponsor this video. I just like making these BS sponsors at the end of my videos. I'm getting in practice, you know, so like if I ever do actually get a sponsor, no, I'm just joking. I don't actually really care either way. All right, I'm out. I'll see you.